All right, let's jump right in. When most people hear the title Think and Grow Rich, they immediately think it's just another book about getting rich quick, right? But what Napoleon Hill actually laid out is something way deeper. It's really about the mental architecture, the psychological blueprint you need to build anything of real value. And yeah, that includes wealth. So, right off the bat, Hill just flips our most basic assumption on its head. I mean, we're all taught that you need money to make money, right? He says, nope, that's completely backward. The real starting capital, it's not what's in your bank account, it's what's between your ears. It all starts with this unwavering belief, this crystal clear picture of what you want, and an almost obsessive focus to go after it. And look, this is so crucial because this is what separates Hill's whole philosophy from just, wishful thinking. Believing you're going to be wealthy while you're just sitting on the couch, that's delusion. But what happens when you take that powerful belief and you bolt it onto a concrete, structured plan? Well, that's when it turns into actual real-world power. Okay, so what does that structure actually look like? Let's break down the blueprint, and we'll start with part one, defining your target. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? You can't hit a target you can't even see. The absolute foundation of this whole system is something Hill called definiteness of purpose. Now, this isn't just about wanting something. Not at all. It's a disciplined practice. It's about defining exactly what you want, writing it down, and then building a detailed plan to get there. It's what turns a simple wish into a full-blown mission. And just look at the difference in thinking here. It's night and day. On one hand, you have the vague goal. It's all hopes and maybes. I want to be rich someday. But then you look at the Wealth Builders plan. It's a series of exacts, an exact income target, an exact timeline, an exact strategy, and even knowing the exact sacrifice it's going to take. See, as Hill always said, vague goals, they only ever produce vague results. So what powers this whole plan? Well, you need what Hill called a burning desire. And listen, don't confuse this with just being motivated or hyped up. This is a deep, quiet, unwavering commitment. It's that willingness to study every day, to sacrifice comfort now for the vision later, to avoid distractions, and just stay focused for years, even when it gets boring. That is the fuel that will get you through all the tough times. All right, let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle and see how this all builds on itself. So once you've got that clear target locked in, the very next step is to start programming your reality. And that means both your internal world and your external one. Now, Hill used this term autosuggestion, which, let's be honest, sounds a little old-fashioned today, but the modern translation is something we all get deep down. You become what you repeatedly think about. It's really just the practice of disciplined internal language, of grabbing the steering wheel on your own self-talk.
Just think about the subtle ways we do this all the time, programming ourselves for scarcity. It's usually in these little automatic phrases. Like you see something you want, and without even a second thought, that little voice pipes up, I can't afford this. And just like that, you've closed the door on possibility.
Or maybe you're facing a huge challenge, something that's going to take real work, and that same script starts playing, predicting you'll fail before you even start. I'll never make it. Or you make one little financial mistake and you immediately cement this identity. I'm just bad with money. You see, every single one of those thoughts is like a command you're feeding to your subconscious. And guess what? It listens. Well thinking isn't about lying to yourself. It's about giving yourself better, more powerful commands. Okay, but this whole programming thing, it isn't just what's happening inside your head. What's happening on the outside is just as important. I'm talking about your environment. Because the people you surround yourself with have a massive, direct impact on your ambition and what you believe is possible. And this is basically Hill's mastermind principle in action. It's simple cause and effect, really. If you surround yourself with consumers, you're going to consume. If you surround yourself with traders, well, you're going to trade. But if you surround yourself with builders, you're going to start thinking about how to build. Your network, your inner circle, literally sets the ceiling for your ambition. Okay, so you've defined your target. You've started to program your mind. The final piece of this blueprint is all about execution. It's about mastering the long game. And this is where almost everyone fails. You know how it goes. You start with this big burst of effort, and you see some results, which is great. But then you hit the dip. That's that awful period where progress just seems to stall, everything gets harder, and it feels like you're spinning your wheels. This right here is the great filter. Most people quit in the dip right before they get to the magic of compounding, where all that quiet, consistent effort suddenly explodes into massive growth. See, real wealth rewards persistence through boredom, not just short bursts of excitement. And when you really dig into it, this is the hidden truth of Hill's entire philosophy. It's all psychological. Your mind is basically a super powerful seeking mechanism. Think of it like a search engine. And it's designed to find whatever you program it to look for. So the real question becomes, what are you programming that search engine to seek? Most people, their minds are programmed to seek a salary, comfort, safety. But wealth builders, they program their minds to constantly hunt for freedom, for capital, for ownership, for systems. And because that's their obsession, they start to see opportunities that are literally invisible to everybody else.
All right, so let's tie this all together. When you start combining all of these elements, you're not just sitting around hoping for success anymore. You are systematically, piece by piece, assembling your own wealth engine.
And this really sums up the core dynamic perfectly. On the one hand, you have desire, that burning ambition. But without the discipline of a plan, it's just a fantasy. It's not going anywhere. But on the other hand, if you have all the discipline in the world but no deep-seated desire to fuel it, you're just going to burn out. You absolutely need both. When you combine them, that's when you create something unstoppable.
And here's the entire process, boiled down into a simple, powerful loop. It all starts with clarity. That clarity of purpose creates intense focus. That focus, when you apply it over time, creates real skill. And that skill, when you take it out into the world, creates capital. Capital you can then pour right back into the cycle. It's a system that just keeps feeding itself.
So, we'll end it here. Look, Napoleon Hill gave us this blueprint over 80 years ago, but its psychological truths, they are more relevant today than ever. The mechanics of it are clear. The only question left, and it's a personal one, is what are you programming your mind to seek?